ever. And they're literally on the wing, swinging around. And here they go now. The smoke is on, and Dave, the leader, is just calling for a dive. Speed down, coming off the roller coaster. And they're going into the uppity up humps and roller coasting their way into English Riviera Airshow Day 3. Really superb aircraft, these from and a wonderful rasping roar that is coming from the front end of the Purple with the radial engine. That'll be about 450 horsepower for 9 cylinders, and on the front there, a big 10-foot Hamilton standard propeller whose tips always go supersonic, and that's where you get that wonderful sound from. Emergency harnesses, as well as being locked in for the first part of the show into their 5-point harnesses. Going up now into a wonderful roll, and then you see the girls dangling from the top of the aircraft as they go upside down at negative G, the blood rushing to all their heads. Taking a bend out over to our left-hand side. So we go back really to wonderful, wonderful raspberry. You put all the propeller into fine pitch, and a lot of power. The extra power actually on these aircraft, because these are not standard engines from Stillman, are used to overcome the drag of having somebody on the top of the wing. But what a wonderful sight that is. Really great nostalgia, great vintage and heritage aircraft all rolled into a little piece of sky. Not Lewis repeated to have actually walked out onto the wing of his own aircraft while they were trying to fix an issue with one of the wing struts. And then he was joined by his female partner, who basically started the whole genre of this, not without mishaps, as you would imagine in the early days, but now carried out as a professional activity and something that you can all have a go at yourselves if you want. Just go and then pull up in another dramatic 3 or 4G climb. Here now, going over the top. And putting in the roll. The girls hanging in their straps. So built in America, as you can probably guess from the story, as a trainer during the, before they developed during the 30s. In gymnastics or acrobatics. Kirsten started in trapeze and other circus work, which surprisingly helped them build strength, flexibility and awareness for doing this sort of thing, and has combined that she trained in classical dancing and absolutely perfect for developing all the muscles required to adopt all these starches such as the arabesque. Environmentally friendly, and most of the pilots use these days. It's all baby oil. But good chance, boys and girls, boys and girls, do give these pilots and the wing walkers a great wave here, because they are working incredibly hard. It's a magnificent sight. The sun now beaming off those wonderful gaily painted fuselages. Just terrific. So if you didn't notice during the course of that pass, the foot of the wing walkers was actually literally right in front of the pilot, and that is what they do when they unclub out of the main rig, and they just then are basically holding on with their emergency safety strap. Let's bring you aero entertainment today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Aero Superbatics team from Renton. Dave Barrow, Brian Corns, Kirsten and Emma. Now going into another classic aerobatic maneuver to change direction for the half horizontal. I've explained jets it requires, or tutor requires careful energy management due to low power to weight ratio. Pulls up again for a quarter clover fly away from you. This next maneuver is a good one to get the cameras out. He's gaining speed and he pitches up into the vertical for a stall turn. Now full-time reserve officer Richard previously a senior officer whilst in the regular service, turning his final tour as officer commanding 45 Squadron. Running out there, running back in towards us to complete the next manoeuvre, which is a quarter clover to reposition back onto the cloud line. During his 30-year career, he's amassed over 5,000 flying hours and flown 10 different aircraft types. As he exits his quarter clover, he's going to enter into a wing over. The combined pitching and rolling manoeuvre is to turn the aircraft 180 degrees. You'll notice throughout this maneuver, every single wing over is slightly different. A light aircraft such as this, Rich has to carefully select his flight path to cater for different wind conditions and energy states. As he comes out of the wing over, Rich is going to enter slow roll. Throughout the slow roll, Rich will skillfully coordinate elevator, rudder and aileron inputs to ensure that the lift vector stays pointing upwards, preventing him from descending towards the ground. Cameras are ready, folks, as Rich will now change direction once again with another stall turn. In his spare time, Rich is a military ski instructor and also a mountain leader. As he graciously falls out of the stall turn now, Rich will run back towards the crowd centre for another variation of a quarter clover. You will observe initially that he will complete the first half of a loop. Up he goes, for rolling away from you. The tutor is operated by number 6 Flying Training School in partnership with Babcock International Group, primarily flying University Air Squadron students and RAF Air Cadets. Which will complete now another half Q and then fly back towards you. There are 13 air experience flights across the UK that offer flights for 20,000 cadets every single year. So if you're aged between 13 and 20 and join the Air Cadets, you too could fly this aircraft. As he comes back towards us, we can now change direction once again to link a quarter clover into a wing over. The Air Cadets offer 50 pilot scholarships per year on the tutor, with students following a syllabus akin to the private pilot's license. The highlight without a doubt being sent first served. Air Cadets is also one of the largest providers of the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme, offering a range of other adventurous activities. As he slowly comes out of another wing over, get your cameras at the ready as Rich will enter 4-point roll. In the 4-point roll here, Rich will delicately coordinate a rudder, aileron and elevator to keep that nose firmly above the horizon, and he does so there. He's then going to exit and enter another wing over. Some of you may have noticed and alluded to earlier, the yellow and black paint scheme that we have. Sometimes we have the white aircraft, but today, yellow and black. Truly one of a kind, originally. Sky, there's the dotty smoke now. Rapid rolls, and remember, 420 degrees a second is seriously high-speed manoeuvring.
Yeah, you come in.
Tom has been a limited national aerobatic champion at least 3 times and has spent an awful lot of time mentoring and training younger people to come into this very exciting business. It takes a toll, not just on the aircraft, these very strong aircraft there, but on the body. You have to train, keep fit for this. There's a lot of, there's no G-suits worn by these aerobatic pilots, so they have to take the stresses and strains in the body, in the training physically. aircraft more than manly enough to take what any pilot can possibly take themselves. Carbon fibre frame, state-of-the-art avionics, and a new level of pilot comfort for the aircraft as well. It's very fast and easily handled. It has to be in the right hands to do that, of course, fresh from the factory. I mentioned individual specification they put on, and Tom, unsurprisingly, decided that one of the things he needed was a heater. And you don't normally have that in an aerobatic aircraft, I can assure you. So for all those long transits, it gets very chilly at high altitude. Tumbling now through the sky, having fallen out of that with little airspeed, but they basically use all that height, convert that into energy, in addition to the speed, which gives them the extension of energy to go to the next set of wings. So Tom now going off to the right hand side, keep your eyes peeled for Michael. Rolling it first of all, and then he'll wind up the motion. Shooting left and right, setting the speed, really tail off. Virtually nothing left on the clock there. Big bootle rudder through storm turn. Started flying at a very young age, did Michael, inspired by his father. He won his first aerobatic competition at 14 years old and went up to be the youngest person ever to be awarded a display authorization for display flying. Became the British Advanced National Aerobatic Champion at just 23 years old. Still was the youngest unlimited level aerobatic pilot in Europe at the age of just 30. He's performed all over the world as a solo display pilot and as part of their formation flying as well. Very passionate about vintage aircraft. And well, that includes not just his own book, I should say, but also flying. He's flown over 50 aircraft types, from gliders to airliners, an active commercial pilot on the 37 line 76 series of aircraft. That is last phase with Michael. Goes into a carousel. I reckon whatever you wish.
That was it. One of them was there, one of them, and the number was there.
Just love the docking stroke. Nice transition.
Ups.
Tom just rolling out now. And that is the salvage complete. So grateful thanks to Tom and Michael for another expertly executed aerobatic display there. And time now for you guys to have a bit of a break. This particular helicopter was one of the world's first frigate-based helicopters. First flying in 1963, finally retiring in 1988. Most of the wasps were replaced by the miniatures by the Lynx helicopter. Effective as a submarine killer, best deployed paired with a Wessex Mark III or a Sea King Marks 125, or indeed an RAF Nimrod back in the day when that was a submarine hunter. Saw active service and Most notably, when the Argentinian War broke out in 1982, following the invasion of the Falkland Islands, 7 reserve frigates and their helicopters were recommissioned for active service in the South Atlantic. Generally speaking, a crew of 1 pilot plus an air crewman and missilayer, but otherwise with 4 passengers, had a look for underslung roads and also search and rescue work. And a structure could be fitted across the back seats. You'll see the bulge in the cockpit, the rear door. That's an extra bulge in it to enable a full stretch, often referred to as the ship's Land Rover. It's a great utility helicopter. But the first missile fired in anger was in April 1982, when the Argentinian submarine Santa Fe was spotted by a Wessex helicopter from HMS Antrim. And the Wessex first of all attacked it with depth charges, but then HMS Plymouth launched a Western Wasp helicopter, and HMS Brilliant launched a Western Lynx. Lynx attacked the submarine with a Mark 46 torpedo, strafed it as well with its general purpose machine gun, and also fired on the Santa Fe. Well, so the Wasp itself from Plymouth, as well as 2 other Wasps launched from HMS Endurance, fired AS-12 anti-ship missiles at the submarine, scoring hits. And the damage was bad enough to prevent the submarine from submerging. And the crew abandoned the submarine at the jetty on South Georgia and surrendered to British forces. So real pedigree as a combat helicopter all around. Coming in for a stable hover. I'm sure Tim will give us a little nod as well in a moment to get us into a little bit of a railway transition there. There's the nod. Just having a quick look up and down, and no doubt a big wave from his family there as well. This particular aircraft, bearing the insignia of 89 Air Squadron from Riviera, was only built in 1964. And served with a whole range of different ships during the course of its service with 89 Squadron, with HMS Nubian, Captain Yellowstone, Cleopatra, Aurora, and that was from February 76 to June 81, also Ajax and Hector as well. Course Black 1, crewed by Lieutenant Commander Jim Fraser and Freddie Morton King. Replaced the Lynx Mark 8 as the latest generation of multi-role helicopters specifically procured to operate from frigates and destroyers of the Royal Navy. More powerful engine, allowing it to be flown in extreme conditions all year round. And whilst it's a nice day today, you've got to really picture yourself on a heaving, rolling deck, far out in the ocean, potentially in combat areas at the same time. And of course that, whatever it is, whether it's the back of a frigate or an aircraft carrier, it is an airfield that keeps moving. So having taken off from it, it's rarely in the same position when you come back to land. The aircraft also has more robust fuselage, a high-tech interactive display, and a new radar system providing 3 ships at sea. Jim bringing it back into a stable hopper now. He joined the Navy in 2001, flying worldwide with 8.5 Naval Air Squadron on the Maritime Lynx. And in that role was supporting counter-narcotics and disaster relief. He went on to instruct the 660 Squadron in Army Air Corps. And there's a great affinity now with both the Army Air Corps and the Royal Navy Squadrons of Wildcats, co-located at the Royal Naval Air Station. Putting up into a high hover, there's the tail down, a wind sweep full of steam below it. Using that dive now to get a bit more energy back into the next maneuver. Jim also competed at the World Helicopter Championships in Russia, and since converting to the Wildcat in 2017, has held frontline and instructional roles with 8.5 and 85 naval. The aircraft is expected to perform a whole range of tasks used in anti-service warfare, force protection and counter-piracy. Also able to carry out, obviously, the anti-submarine role as we've described. But it also provides commanders with flexible attack capability which can be employed to tackle all sorts of threats at sea and, of course, from under the sea, with its state-of-the-art sensors, equipment and weapons. Of course, it's not all glory in the cockpit. There's a whole raft of people providing the support to it, all Navy aviators and engineers. Many of them volunteers from their own squadrons to support this activity at weekends. Going back into the hopper again, a good opportunity to give Jim and Freddie a good wave off. There's navigating home after this, and there's the nods back to you as well. So they've asked me to pass on their personal thanks to everyone for their support throughout this coming season. And they'd like to offer their thanks to the engineers who keep them flying here as well. And those who here Friday night would have seen these characters flying with all the lights on. You can't see them now, but the aircraft are fitted with neon lighting down the fuselage, and on Friday night has fireworks on the wings as well. But today they will find very much the same formation routine, albeit without any exciting pyrotechnics. Great aircraft these from American company Vans, of course RVs, easily the most successful range of home-built aircraft in the world by a very, very long margin. And literally tens of thousands have been built in many different variants. You can build one of these in your backyard and tailor it to suit your own flying conditions and ambitions, whether you want it maybe as a tour or whether you want to go dolly or the aircraft holders to continue them as flying. Fitted with 160 horsepower, 4-cylinder Lyconian engine, 6 propellers, nothing else to fiddle with there, but they're in tandem configuration. Exception with dual controls for the rear seat as well, so very much a fighter pilot type feel to the aircraft, and very versatile range of speed from 50 to 200 miles an hour, requiring just a very small strip of around 300 metres to take up a landing. So with a cruise speed of around 160 miles an hour, it does make for that touring ambition as well, with a bit of room in there for luggage, not a huge amount, but enough that's aerobatically able to extend its agility from +6 to -3 G. So as well as the additional lighting systems, they've also, of course, got some extras for the pilots. Ensure that the engine continues safely. Wonderful they make it with these vehicles. It's seamlessly picturesque, but at the same time a huge amount of work and practice goes into this. The whole engineering that the second try and replicate as closely as possible all the control gauges in the cockpit. I'm coming in right abreast. I'm going up the tongue into another one of those descripts we mentioned earlier on, the barrel roll. It will fly around the outside of an imaginary garlic cloud. Of course, as they go inverted at the top there, hanging momentarily in their straps, a little bit of thing. Father features, cameras and sea vixens, and got the nose for the job. Both John and Nigel joined 86 squadrons in the local areas. Nigel along the coast. Nigel, however, decided to go with the Air Force as his flying career, whereas John essentially went into commercial flying of different types before they both went on into larger commercial flying activities. Initially, Nigel was involved with the 100th Tactical Weapons Course at Morley, and then moved on to the Jaguar, serving over in Brooklyn and Colchester, before then joining commercial aviation flying with Boeing 75, 74 and 77 series. Now, as they come in opposition, they'll be putting up into what we call a quarter table, where they just put in a little jinx of about 90 degrees to one side. A little turn coming in, there it is, just turning it down, and they're full underneath themselves, a little bit of weightlessness, putting the G, checking the wings are level behind them, and pass on what we call the V-axis, flying away from them. The second favourite is the Harvard, which we see here today. Very proud to be involved with that, after all the experience, and interesting enough, a little snippet of fact about Al on the 6th of June 1983. He led the two-aircraft surface search mission, which his wingman got lost, and landed on a small Spanish container ship. If you check out the Alrego incident, you might get more information about that. I certainly remember it well, but many youngsters may not, and it's quite a story. Anyway, back to the Harvard, just enjoying this lovely throaty roar of this buckwheat engine. Not just a trainer there, it could be armed with 3 7.62 machine guns, able to cruise at 170 and fly as fast as 200 miles an hour, and a range of around 750 miles. Can be a bit twitchy on the runway, most pilots report, so there's not potential for ground looping. That is basically doing a loop on the ground rather than in the air. But it's a great machine, supercharged, constant speed prop, retractable undercarriage. Really good trainer. If you've not flown, if you're from the helicopter background or maybe fast jets, you've never flown train pair wheels, many will go back to start retrain on the Chipmunk, the BB-2 Chipmunks, and maybe also have access to a couple as well. And then once you've got used to that, you move on to this particular aircraft before considering flying the likes of the Spitfire, Hurricane, or P-51 Mustang. Now coming to the end of this display. Hopefully we'll be a little flyby, so boys and girls, not so bad. Speaking of Alistair McLaren, a super wave off from this delightful venue here at the English Riviera airshow. Follow that out, super flying, great to see the Harvard. really, really distinctive sound. Marvellous. And as you mentioned, ratchet straps, normal seatbelt or straps for pushing -4G. So indeed, Richard is ratchet strapped into the hard breathe, and if he can breathe, then the straps aren't going to stop enough. But Richard loves scientific well, and he loves to push the limits, doesn't he? He's always trying to get another sort of 1% performance out of it. And it's that noise is very nice. Indeed it is. And this maneuver we call the Christmas tree. I know it's not Christmas, I don't know. I just so some days. Brighter and brighter. And then he'll be flat spinning down the centre of the space. Well away. Yes, terrific with all that power. So total power then on this.
All right, that's it. Kevin.
Bow. What to thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim.
How much reverb going on? Oh la la poo poo la la. Oh la la poo poo la la. Oh la la poo poo la la. Ooh la la boo boo la 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 la. Ooh la la boo boo la la. Yeah, how long? Yeah.
Which helps suppress the effects. So something special coming up.
With the backing vocal quickly. Ooh la la poo poo la la. Ooh la la poo poo la la. Thanks, Tim. We'll be on after the typhoon, I do believe.
This aircraft isn't a helicopter. When it goes into the hover, a helicopter has a tail rotor to stop the rotation of the aircraft. But this aircraft doesn't have a tail rotor, so when it is in a pure hover, the piston engine propeller is turning the aircraft one way, so it torque reaction rotates the aircraft in the opposite direction. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. No, it's just wonderful that people do quite well without actually executing themselves, other than holding it in the holder, of course. But just doing it once again now, it's just lovely to see. The aircraft is rather a thirsty aircraft, which will be using 60 litres of the jet turbine fuel that we use on board. We'll be using 40 litres of smoke oil and about 20 litres of the aviation gasoline that's supplied. The aircraft will lose a lot of its actual gas during this yeah, and that's some of the ergonomics in the cockpit as well, isn't it? To be working 3 different systems. Absolutely, not only this engine the aircraft, so if you ever get the opportunity to go chance, it really is quite complicated in there with the controls and lights and noses going everywhere. Now the jet engines are slightly sort of cantilevered out, and is that after years of trying to get the balance of thrust? That certainly gets your attention, doesn't it? You don't get many opportunities to say a lot during the course of the Typhoon display. It's so much in your face. And look at the interior around the turn here. You see the afterburners. That's what Mind off to our right hand side. It's trademark
That one.
screw.
You are. You are.
Positioning the aircraft flying through there at around 500 miles an hour. Negative G turn there, around -3. Now accelerating the jets back up with positive G coming back on. Very tight. Scattering seagulls away in the sky. They're doing their own display now, but luckily staying well out of the way because, of course, jets are vulnerable to that sort of seabird activity. We'll be keeping a close eye on that from down here. Repositioning now, just slowing down just a tiny bit, not a great deal. Coming back in for a barrel. Again, you've seen a few of these today. This one, very different, of course, pulling it right up, using stuff a bit more sky, but a very, very graceful manoeuvre. But overall, the Typhoon is exceptional in using half the space that you get through Actually, once again, back into another max rate turn, holding 9G all the way around. It's probably very responsible. Coming out of this, now here pull the throttles way back, put the Typhoon into what we call a high alpha position, and that is basically the nose way up, just on the edge of the airfield, breaking away from the upper wing, but not enough to stall the aircraft. Exceptional that an aircraft of this magnitude, capability and power that flies at twice the speed of sound can now fly at around 130 miles an hour. Holding this right on the balance between the speed and the thrust of the engines. A few little digital assistants on board as well, telling it what the parameters are, making sure it's pretty impossible to make a pause in the aircraft with the computation. Cannons on the front end there, you'll see. Now really winding the jet up, getting it up to the max speed possible. And now, this finale, not just this, but also this English Riviera air show you've been watching. Flight Lieutenant Tom Nation at the Royal Air Force Typhoon.